Chapter 56. The strange ship bobs on the waves of an endless ocean. Above there are no clouds, only a sky without stars and the quiescent tendrils of the watcher. The ship is small enough that I can operate it, yet still large and threatening. The sail curves back like the fin of a titanic shark, and the prow points out like a jagged spear. We cleave through the tide like a knife through flesh, carried ever forward by an inescapable current. Slowly, the morose surroundings change. Small vortices imply the presence of other flows. I need to hurry. More and more, my own current narrows and I catch glimpses of others. Other constructs, other actors. We are all led forward on a collision course with our knowledge and, more importantly, our consent. A conflict is coming to a close. The final pieces are almost in position. Yet something is wrong. On my path there is an impossibility. A wreck, rotten and flimsy but still very much a danger. The ship must not change course, and I know what must be done. There will be no more delay, no more obstacles. At the end of the path stands my birthright, the status that I was denied twice before by fate and casual cruelty. This time, I will not be stopped. Those who stand before me expect a fight, I will give them a war. The dream's warning does not fall on uncaring ears. In the following days and in preparation of my confrontation with Sullivan, I go through a flurry of measures and projects. Merritt proves herself to be a resourceful woman, just as I expected, and she wormed her way into Marquette's respectable society by attending the tea parties that were beyond my reach. Her networking has already borne fruit, though the most curious consequence is that between the two of us we have finished mapping Marquette's index of male sexual prowess. Quite the eye-opener. Between preparations, the necessary work and my training, the nights pass quickly. April 25, 1832. Miss Lethe, come in, come in. The mayor's office is luxuriously decorated in an honest attempt to equal the pomp and respectability of his eastern counterparts. The stink of brandy and tobacco almost masks the musk of sweat and coal, though the effort is somewhat wasted by the ever-growing pile of slag I can spot from the window behind him. Sometimes, I think that this byproduct of coal mining may one day become the state's highest elevation. The man himself stares at me from beyond his desk, with the simulated expression of someone who knows he will have to refuse a request and does not want a scene. His mask falls when his second guest follows in my steps. Without a word, we sit down and I introduce my companion. Sir, this is Jason McMahon, a marshal from the state of Pennsylvania. He came to lodge at my establishment and I wanted to use the opportunity of our meeting to introduce the two of you, and hope we can put an end to this regrettable affair before any rumor starts to spread. The mayor, who has his fingers in far too many pies, blanches visibly and I allow myself a minute's smile before McMahon dispels his fear. The marshal is a gruff man and a travel-worn duster. His scruffy chops and mustaches have been awkwardly waxed for the occasion, but what really attracts the eyes are the scars. From cheeks to knuckles, the marshal bears on his body the marks of quite a few tussles and is clearly still standing. He is amusingly awkward with a bowler hat clenched between his rough hands. Right, good evening Mr. Mayor, sir. As the lady said, probably just a misunderstanding, but if it's not, well. Out with it, man. What is it? It's about one of your deputies, Mr. John Graham. See, I got this here warrant for a John Graham from Philadelphia regarding an assault charge. Are you telling me that one of our own officers is wanted? Unthinkable. There is a drawing of him, see if you recognize him. McMahon removes a folded poster from an inner pocket and gives it to the mayor, whose eyes widen. Yes, it appears our dear judge, who still refuses to hire local on fear of them being corrupted as a criminal in his employ. Our gazes meet, and I wink. Later that night, the man I summoned walks with hesitation down the empty street, the collar of his green jacket pulled up to ward off the constant drizzle. He steps with fear and his eyes dart left and right over dark corners as if expecting an ambush. At this time of the night, the warehouse district is empty and desolate. The rickety buildings inspire little confidence in a respectable member of society. His face shows relief when he spots me, standing within the yellow nimbus of lantern light like an oasis in the darkness. His comfort is short-lived when he notices my companion. No one is looming quite like John. His presence towers so much that he might as well be a geographical feature, one that can break an adult skull on demand. My guest falters and I smile innocently before the yellow-livered fool attempts to run away. My time is precious. My greeting sounds hollow in the deserted alley. Mr. Collins, thank you so much for joining me. I am delighted to see you. He stops 5 steps away from us. Look, Miss Lethe, if that concerns my obligation, I promise I will repay you fully by. My come hither gesture interrupts him. We are having a conversation, not a screaming match. I will not tolerate disrespect from the likes of him. The imbecile hesitates, and somewhere within John's peculiar brain, the realization that someone is disobeying me expands like the puddle of blood from a slit artery. My bodyguard stands straighter, and from this single gesture, conveys a promise of imminent violence. His prodigious spine pops under the strain of warming muscles, and he slowly caresses his monstrous hands. He's such a good lad. Feeling the mood, Collins steps closer and swallows his saliva with some difficulty. I watch his Adam's apple bob up and down with middling interest. He smells appetizing but also weak. I fed yesterday from a rowdy patron, no need to indulge just yet. Let's get this over with. Collins. I will grant you a delay before I collect your debt. It will even be interest-free. In return, you will do something for me. Trust me, it will be to your advantage. April 26th. The fumoir at the back of the town hall is packed tonight, and the divide between two camps could not have been more obvious to anyone with a hint of social grace. Marquette's most influential members sit in the first circle of comfortable leather chairs while others, including myself, linger at the edge, still present but not quite as influential. The air is heavy with the bluish smoke of cigars as tensions run high, and quite a few of the bottles are already empty. Judge Sullivan sits opposite me, surrounded by a posse of Marquette's most fanatical and self-righteous idiots. I notice with pleasure that the number is lower than a week before, a sure sign that the most recent scandal stained his previously immaculate image. The judge hired no locals under the pretext of avoiding corrupting influence, and behold, one of his deputies was wanted. Truly, the man knows no shame, favoring criminal outsiders over our brave local lads. And the timing could not be worse. Just a day before the big meeting, to have a marshal drag his cuffed subordinate through the main street, for everyone to see. How very unfortunate for him. Our eyes meet, and I blink. What? I am the very soul of innocence. The session is open. The Honorable Mayor has the floor. Thank you, thank you. Gentlemen, we have much to discuss today. Without further ado, I will now proceed with our first order of business, the injunction brought forward by the Honorable Judge Sullivan. As you know, it is our duty and burden to oversee our community and guide it on the right path. Although the lesser races are no less deserving of our benevolent counsel, it remains our right to protect our wives and children from any depravity that they may be exposed to. Starting May the 1st, our community will no longer welcome in its midst neither people of color nor vagrants. Our city is safe. The statement is welcomed by polite applause, which I do not join. Sullivan stares at me like a hawk, waiting for me to make my move. This only shows his lack of understanding. I have never talked in public for the simple reason that I am a woman, and that is enough for some to dismiss me. I very much prefer a puppet to dance for me and take the limelight. This is much more expedient. With that said, our nation is still a land of opportunity, and we must find it in our heart to leave to others the chance that was offered to us to better our lot. Freedom and the pursuit of happiness should be extended to all regardless of their nature, and this is with great pleasure that I will now allow Mr. Collins to bring forward his proposal. For those of you who are new here, Mr. Collins owns Collins Construction, and he has been a pillar of our community for more than a decade. More polite applause. Collins stands up and brushes imaginary dust from his elegant ensemble. He clears his throat, then starts with the mellifluous voice of the consummate salesman. Gentlemen, good evening. It is my honor and privilege to address you today. For 13 long years I have been part of this community. I have seen it grow, struggle and prosper. Through years of abundance and years of famine we have endured, and now we are finally taking the first step towards becoming a real city, to rival those our forefathers founded when this country was in its infancy. Like all entities, we will face growing pain, but as the leaders of Marquette it is our sacred duty to manage them as well as we can, so God help us. A few amen echo around us. I am rather proud of the touching religious moment. Hear this, God? The daughter you abandoned still pays homage through her servant. I mean, representative. A population increase needs to be handled properly. For the first time in our history, we must plan our growth with vision and purpose rather than organically. That is why I propose that we open a new section of town reserved for the other races, so that they too may strive for fortune amongst their brethren. A new district for them, distinct yet with the same amenities. Agitated whispers fill the room at the mention of such an ambitious project, and it doesn't take long for another notable to object. And who do you propose will pay for all of this? Asks a loud voice. The newcomer is twirling his massive mustache with an obvious air of doubt. That's my good friend Andrews, my main supplier of beef and poultry for all my businesses. Thank you for asking. I would not waste this assembly's precious time without an actionable plan. I, and the group of concerned citizens, have purchased the lands around the Smith residence, and we have sent a generous offer to them as well. We will fund the creation of this new district in its entirety, all for the benefit of Marquette. The only thing we require is your blessing before we proceed with construction, and that this new area be exempted from the ban. A wave of approving nods spreads over the assembly. Since it solves their issue without costing them a penny, most of them would be inclined to agree. I still made sure to test the water beforehand. You never know, with mortals. They get obsessed over the most innocuous of things. Like mutilation. And another thing. I am sure that many of you work with citizens and freemen of Kentucky down south. Some of them may even have come across Gentleman Bennings who married a black woman. Now, I don't want to discuss his proclivities, but when he comes to town, should I tell him his spouse isn't welcome? A man of his stature and wealth. What about other travelers and freemen? Must they camp outside the city? Should we deny ourselves business because of inflexibility? A series of nay sounds throughout the room. Sullivan has turned scarlet, because he knows where this is going. Any more and he will be foaming at the mouth. This measure is designed to keep out undesirables, not endanger our livelihood. That is why I propose that we allow foreign visitors access to Wanning so that they may stay while they conduct their business. I nominate the Dream as the most convenient location. A few members look my way, mostly those who were not warned. Sullivan scowls with fury. He raises his hand indicating his wish to intervene. Collins ignores him. With this measure, we will be ready to face the consequences of the implementation of this measure with confidence. The speech goes on with more details and the obligatory embellishments. I school my expression into one of polite attention and pretend I do not notice the reddening judge. Before the vote is cast, he gets his time. Gentlemen. Is the law a law, if it doesn't apply to everyone? Andrews coughs loudly while a few angry whispers echo at the back. The word hypocrite may have been uttered. Sullivan scowls even more but he does not relent. He rambles for 10 minutes on civic duty and the importance of the strict application of rules. Fiat justitia, ruat coelum. And all that. I watch with amused fascination as he loses the attention of even his most stalwart supporters, by repeating himself. Is this what a political wreck looks like? How can he not see the obvious? This is not the way the game is played. You do not get people to your side during the meeting. All relevant negotiations are conducted beforehand behind closed doors, in smoke-filled receiving rooms. A real politician would have understood this. What am I saying? A real politician would have seen it coming from a mile away and killed the proposal before it was submitted. The game is already over. Before long, the ballot is cast. The mayor counts the votes himself and comes up with the final result. The motion is accepted by 17 votes in favor and 5 against. For Sullivan, this is the last straw. He stands up in fury and walks in the middle of the room under more than a few disapproving glances. I have had enough of this. Judge Sullivan, you do not have the floor, please sit down. The mayor's warning falls on deaf ears. The judge is too incensed to listen. His voice rises to a sharp crescendo as he starts with the emphatic voice of the Baptist preacher. Don't you see? This is your divine test. The Lord is offering you a chance to repent, to abandon your wicked ways and get back into His graces. For too long this town has glorified sin and villainy, with wanton women selling their bodies with the tacit approval of all. No more, I say, no more. Pray and reconsider. I cower like the poor, unfairly slandered lady I am. Oh, this is just too perfect. He is ruining the little credit the latest scandal left him with instead of biding his time. What a glorious declaration. Yes, dear Judge, please insult everyone some more. Sir, I think you should sit down, adds one of his supporters pointedly. Now. Sullivan's expression turns stricken, but instead of answering, he stomps away under the disapproving gaze of the entire assembly. Perfect, just perfect. My victory is complete, and I did not have to move a muscle, nor to intone a single word. Ah, Sinead, I wish you were here to see this. You would say this is a play for children, but it is still a masterful one. I hide my saddened expression behind a fan and receive more than a few sympathetic comments in the ensuing confusion. Even those that oppose me normally look aghast as their champion of justice just up and left after this final stain on their reputation. Ah, if only he could exile himself out of scorn, and then I could pursue and eat him. But alas, that would be too risky. Disappearing notables are always a pain to handle. After a few moments, calm returns and the meeting resumes. The next order of business is of direct interest to me, and it is put forward by the mayor with my unspoken support. There are rumors that native tribes under the command of one ruffian named Black Hawk are marching on land that was rightfully ceded to us under the Treaty of St. Louis. We must be able to defend ourselves should they attack. That is why, I propose that we fund a militia capable of defending us against all dangers. A few questions follow, mostly on funding, but most of the men present agree that the prospect of armed poor white men is slightly less terrifying than that of Indian raiders, and so the Marquette militia is officially founded. Its new leader is nominated as well, a veteran of the previous war by the name of Wallace, who enjoys buxom blondes and poker just a bit too much. Just as planned. As for how they will be armed, I am currently a shareholder of a Massachusetts arms manufactory that will, I am sure, make a reasonable offer. Thanks, Isaac. The meeting ends and as I leave, there are already groups gathering to discuss what should be done about poor Sullivan. It seems like the air of the countryside just doesn't agree with him. Probably all that coal in the air. I head back to the Dream with John in tow, doing my best not to whistle. Half an hour later, Dream's meeting room. So I would call that a complete success. Now we only need to secure an armory and powder reserve for fast access, and I will make sure Wallace is under control. Merritt, I'm counting on you for the armory. Search around the warehouse district. Right. The Midge leaves with a pile of documents while Nami plays with a serrated knife, twisting it between her fingers with acrobatic dexterity. I can tell that something is on her mind. Yes? I would not call tonight a complete success. Why not? Because in 4 days, I will be forbidden from walking the streets of the city. Quite the inconvenience, don't you think? I am surprised, as well as a bit worried. Is she offended? I did not think it would bother you. Should I have opposed the measure? You are pragmatic, Ariane, and that is a good thing, but your sensibility is already slipping as a result. Amongst your followers, how many are affected? H.M. Oscar, King, Russell, the Creek brothers. And 2 maids and 1 kitchen staff. Do you think they see this as a complete success? I doubt it. You acted as you thought best. I am sure that the new district you have planned will not be the den of poverty it could have been without you, and it will increase your power and control over this place. You did not cause the misery you were feeding from, but they will resent it, and you must not forget. I consider her words in silence. I did not, in fact, Consider the victims. I never do, and this time I should have. I call Nami my friend and did not even consider her comfort. You're mad at me? No, Ariane, this is nothing new to me. I was getting rusty with rooftop traveling anyway. I merely wanted to remind you to be careful around mortals. They are always so emotional, and forgetting this would be harmful to your interests. Oh. All right. Don't make this face, sweetling, I won't bite. Unless you want me to? Perhaps you need a little punishment. No, back off. Insufferable woman. Chapter 57. The removal of minorities from Marquette goes without trouble, the few concerned individuals already resolved to their fates. The Dream as well as the Main Street are exempt, which makes my establishment even more popular among travelers, with our reputation reaching farther than ever before. Meanwhile, the new district opens and it takes more effort than I expected to keep it well provisioned. Many of my suppliers refuse to even enter the place and I am forced to arrange my own system of distribution, which in turn leaves me in a position of monopoly. I could easily make their lives hell if I so desired, and the memory of Nami's remark is ever present. On the military side of things, our militia sees immediate deployment when a war band led by a sock named Black Hawk tries to resettle the land they had ceded in treaty. The group is made of fighters from several tribes and meets with some initial success, including raids on settlers where they kill, mutilate and scalp men, women and children. This triggers a massive exodus of isolated settlers. They arrive in Marquette in small groups, bringing their families and cattle in great convoys that settle in fallow fields at the edge of town. Small circles of tents pop out of the ground like mushrooms after a rain, filled with harried men and women with dangerous eyes. They stay there in insalubrious conditions that even slums cannot match. The newcomers are wary of everyone, including each other. Tension and distrust lead to more trouble for my new district. I have to deploy Harrigan squads more than a few times in the following weeks to knock some heads before they can come up with stupid ideas. The hatred between newcomers and true Marquette citizens burns bright. Paranoia runs rampant. Most of the fighting occurring between militia and Indians are skirmishes, but hearing the reports, thousands of bloodthirsty savages were soon going to descend upon the town to rape and plunder to their heart's content. I don't even think they had 1,000 men to start with. The panic makes people feel cornered and aggressive. Marquette becomes a powder keg of tension and deep-seated resentment. I am forced to have the few Creek under my employ wear white armbands at all times to differentiate them from hostile natives. All public gatherings are forbidden and any brawl suppressed with a heavy hand before they can degenerate into large-scale riots. Then, because a catastrophe never comes alone, May brings us a cholera epidemic. Seeing people soil themselves to death really makes me appreciate my own immortality. We even lose a few girls, which frustrates me to no end. Diseases are not opponents I can simply massacre. Against this unseen enemy, I am powerless. Without means to retaliate, I decide to stop our normal operations to help fight the epidemic, and between this, renovations and investing in weaponry, this year will definitely end in the red for me. That's fine, it's an investment. This complete mess reduces the time I could spend on aura training, running outside with medicine, sparring with Nami. The poor Econ girl is growing restless in such a small city, so starting from June, I allow her to roam around the land and get back to me if she finds anything interesting. At the same time, news of the war restores confidence in the militia after their triumph at Horseshoe Bend. That epic battle was just 30 men killing 11, but hearing the commoners speak of it, it might as well have been a new Waterloo. All the same, settlers start to head home, which reduces the burden on the town. I no longer understand mortals. I kill 11 men all the time and you don't see me parading on the street with a flag. Bah. In any case, my mood massively improves when my latest purchases make their way to town in a large convoy. June 3, 1832, Marquette. Ariane. Yes, Alexandra? I told you to call me Merit. And why are you laughing maniacally in the corridors? That's not good for your image. I am most pleased. Whatever happened that has you so merry? Merit asks, the very image of suspicion. My special delivery is here. Let's go, let's go. Quick! We leave the dream behind with John in tow. I walk through the evening crowd who parts to let me through. Some of them even greet me. My reputation has improved a lot since I spent my own money on civic duties, to the extent that even some respectable citizens have disregarded the origin of my wealth. A pleasant development. The trip is fast. In only a few minutes, we reach the warehouse district and my destination. Where is it? Where are they? I ask the first man I recognize. The foreman stops backing when he realizes he has hit a wall and that answering my question is the safest way to save himself. In here. I disregard the poor aside and enter a smaller barn to find my little precious things well protected under tarps. Yes. They're here. Behind me, Merritt and the man confer in low voices. Why is she laughing like that? I was so scared. No idea. Fools. Can't they see the magnificence before them? John. Help me take off those covers. We remove the tarps to reveal shiny gaping steel maws, all sweet and lubricated. Are those? Oh no. That's right, Merritt. Feast your eyes upon those state-of-the-art, rifled, limber-drawn 12-pounder field artillery guns. In a revolutionary new technique, they use balls that are fractionally larger than the bore so they engage with the grooves for that sweet spin. It will drastically improve precision, see? With that, I can put a hole through a man's belly button large enough to place a hand while leaving his crotch intact at 200 paces. If their faces are any indication, I lost them out limber-drawn. Bah, it doesn't matter that those heathens cannot appreciate the good things in life. I laugh and pet my little babies. Just wait until I drag you to a field for some testing and, oh, what is this? Besides the two expected guns, there is a third form. A small, stubby thing under a red cover. I pick a small envelope attached to it and excitedly read its content. Ariane, please accept this humble gift as an expression of my appreciation, and of my hope for your success. Now that you have a midge in your service, I am sure you will find a use for it. It was, after all, your prize. With all my friendship. A moment later, I lift the cover and am left speechless. Merritt walks by my side and after inspecting the intricate work before her, asks, "What is that? It looks like a gun?" This, dear Merritt, is a Scarborough runic mortar, a wonder of magical engineering that can send fiery spells to incinerate foes from a mile away. And you will be its operator. The redhead's eyes widen in wonder as even she can tell what terrible destruction they will be able to inflict together. Perfect, this is just perfect. I bask in the afterglow of all these explodey things I now own. Oh, I am so very happy. If only Papa could see me. Yesterday a rifle, today, artillery guns, and tomorrow, who knows? A ship of the line? So many problems I could solve by the generous application of scorin and gunpowder. I almost can't wait for live targets. Whatever storm comes to find me, I hope they will be ready, for I sure as hell am. I only have 2 weeks to train the poor artillery crews, a thankless task that involves a lot of math and a lot of screaming, before something unexpected happens. At midnight in the heart of June, I feel a powerful magic pulse coming far away from the east. Its power shines like a beacon, demanding attention. It has started. June 19, 1832. I don't think I have ever felt such a powerful aura other than from the Herald. It tastes sharp and surprisingly focused. Since it's a mighty spell I do not understand, I naturally assume it is bad news. I decide to head out first to check what we are against while Merritt, John and the odd squad pack things up. They will join me at a safe house before dawn and I do hope the situation will be solved by then, though I do not harbor much hope. With my own pack always prepared, it is only a matter of getting changed and riding out. The buildings of Marquette and civilization fall behind me as menace and I rush across the plain. This is my most hated time of the year. I have to spend so much time in slumber that every second is precious, and most are spent handling the dream and all my new projects. I am glad to steal this moment for myself with only metas, the night and the endless sky. I have no need to consider politics, be it with the humans or my fellow vampires. There is no appearance to keep or expectations to fulfill. The plain is vast beyond compare, especially for me, who grew up in the swampy south. Sometimes, a gust of wind comes to caress my skin and brings the scent of sap and dried vegetation, making the grass around us dance like waves on the ocean. We cut away through that sea and leave meadows, forests and the vast fields behind, always in the middle of an endless green only matched by the endless midnight blue above. Life is vibrant around us as insects and beasts hunt, mate or die, and although I do prefer winter, I have to admit that there is a charm to this season. The nightmare is also happy to let go, I can tell. I may be able to outrun her on short distances, but for long runs she is without a match. There's also something exhilarating about trampling the ground on top of a hellish, flesh-eating warhorse who doesn't know fear. I already have a spear. I am just missing a banner and a helm, as well as some fancy war cry like the Knights of the Round Table. What should I scream when charging? What do I fight for? Blood, freedom, and gunpowder? Not bad. I try it as well as a few others as we make good way until something attracts my attention and I stop. Before me, a bend in the road goes around a lake reduced to a pond by dry weather. A few trees mask the path ahead, and a peculiar shine attracts my eye. I close my eyes and focus. Heart beats, at least 2. This is an ambush. I'm so excited. In all my years, I have never been the target of a robbery unless I was looking for it. Could it be that I finally got lucky? I could use the distraction to feed a bit before the inevitable showdown. As I slow Metas to a canter, she snorts in anticipation. Sometimes, I cannot tell how smart she really is. Obviously, she is smarter than some humans. I just don't know exactly how much she understands. We pass the bend and the trees hide the moon, casting us in an extremely deep shadow. The pond is currently to my left, and to my front and right the plain goes on seemingly forever dotted with the occasional tree. The largest white oak I have ever seen stands at the top of a small mound, and on one of its lower branches, someone has installed a noose. How quaint. Come on out, I order calmly. And 2 of Judge Sullivan's deputies exit from the cover of the forest behind me like children caught sneaking. One of them is a blond man who I remember as kind but shy, and the other is a quiet, stocky man with gray chops. I smile lightly. I should have expected this, really, considering the judge's personality. I just did not anticipate him to be so brazen. Hanging me is sure to gather a lot of attention. What was he even thinking? One more lanky deputy and Sullivan himself come out from further down the way. I assumed they were the ones to stop me, and the men behind were tasked with cutting off my escape. I suppose it could have worked, although I cannot help but feel this is a bit amateurish. I would have placed a man on the other side of the road to shoot down the horse, just in case my prey attempts to flee through the plain. I would also have my men draw their weapons. What would happen if I started to run now, huh? How long before they can fumble their muskets out to line a shot in the dark? So gauche. The 4 close on me with what I assume is a vague attempt at intimidation. The effect is ruined by 2 things. First, they act like meek virgins, which in a way they are. Second, they gawk at my outfit and equipment like bumpkins instead of remaining stoic. Even Sullivan's eyes are wide in surprise. I am wearing an innocuous travel cloak, not my battle gown, but I am still riding without saddle and my covered legs hug Metas' flank almost horizontally, which is unusual to say the least. I am sure they are also taken aback by the wicked-looking spear in my hand. I would find it amusing to act the victim for the following play. Unfortunately it is absolutely impossible to appear harmless while riding Metas, even without weaponry. She's just too dangerous, my sweet little toothy charger. Since I cannot fool them, I just assume the air of supreme confidence I am feeling right now, and since they appear hesitant, I will open the game. I take my most arrogant voice and begin. I must admit I expected very little from you and am still disappointed. Highway banditry, really? How have you fallen so low, Sullivan? This is not banditry but justice. He replies defensively. Justice at the dead of night? without witness. You leave me no choice, which? Your talons are dug too deep into this town, and the only way to purge the body is to cut off the infected limb. I regret that it comes to this. Lies. But only God can judge me now. He already has. I believe the exact term was "you shall not kill." The Exodus also said, "Suffer not the witch to live." He replies with fire in his eyes. And you are all here, certain that I am a witch? So sure, in fact, that you are willing to flaunt the law to put me to death. Is it your belief and your resolve? Yes, he replies with increasing fervor, for we are the hand of God, united in purpose and chosen to deliver his punishment. I hope they are not, or humanity is done for. United, huh? And where is Douglas? I ask innocently. After the loss of one deputy to a bounty hunter, there are only 4 left, and one of them was slightly more integrated with the town than the others. I notice that he is absent. Sullivan hesitates at this reminder that his men are not as devoted to his cause as they look. You already captured his mind with your sorcerous ways. He is too soft to do what needs to be done. Have you considered that perhaps the town keeps me around for a reason, and you 4 may be in the wrong? There is no doubt in my heart. My faith protects me from your poisoned words, Sullivan replies with conviction, but too late. 2 of his men look less than enthusiastic about this whole covert lynching business. I realized that I could just kill all of them and be done with it, but I would have to deal with the disappearance of a high-ranking official and his subordinates, who may have informed someone that they were going after me. It would be much more efficient to manipulate the situation to my advantage. I am a courtier after all, not some bloodthirsty imbecile. Let's see how fruitful Sinead's lessons have been. From the situation, I can see that 2 of them could switch sides, though Sullivan and the last one are so set in their belief that it would require me to shred their minds to get anywhere. Time for me to make my case, and I feel like justifying myself, for once. You believe that my influence comes from hexes, or from some strange pleasure magic that blinds men with the promise of sex. You think me some parasite sucking the life from Marquette, corrupting the souls of its inhabitants. You could not be more wrong. The people of the city tolerate me because many of them remember the time before the dream, when this place was just one more mud hole on the frontier. They remember life without my work, something that you never bothered to ask about. When I came here, girls were already selling themselves and men were already getting drunk. When I came here, whore corpses would be found once every 5 months and dead miners once every 2. Carcasses were left for so long that you could follow their path to the graveyard by the trail of maggots they left behind, and people were rotting behind barns or on pails of rotten hay like animals. What a sorry sight they all were, sick and covered in sores, with missing teeth and scarred faces. Any pass could end up with a knife to the gut, and every bottle of moonshine was poison in waiting. Misery was the norm and chaos the law. This is what I found, and this is what I changed. I feel myself getting more animated. I made a safe place and opened it to those wretches so that none could feed from their miseries. I brought them safe bedrooms to work and sleep. I brought them warm food and alcohol that was not made from sawdust. I made rules and forced manners to make them feel like people. I lifted them and ruled fairly, and I have protected them ever since. This is why I am tolerated, because I have become the last safety net for desperate people where none would, and everyone is better for it. You would know this if you had thought but for a moment, or if you had relied on your powers of observation instead of blind faith to understand the world. You have not. This loyalty I receive, I earned it. You believed John to be spelled. When I picked him up from the streets, I could circle his wrist with 2 fingers. Oscar? Cut down from a tree where he had been left to slowly choke. Kitty? She was almost beaten to death by her degenerate brother. This is why they accept me, not because of spells but because of the human decency that I showed them where your powdered ladies and respectable gentlemen would not. And you? You come here with your belief that the town is tainted, throwing around your weight on your book, expecting some kind of recognition? You do not even realize that I do more for this place's well-being in a day than you have done since you arrived. When you fail to garner the approval you expected, you do not ask yourself if you have committed a sin of pride. No, you just throw everything you have sworn to uphold down the gutter to assassinate a woman like some vulgar highwayman, in the dead of night and in the middle of nowhere. You hide like the coward you are because you know the people would not stand this farcical sentencing, because you could not face your own inadequacies. You even hide from your own colleagues. You, a defender of justice? Don't make me laugh. This is not justice you are seeking, but base revenge for your wounded self-esteem. Come on, look me in the eyes and tell me this is divine will. Tell me you could go back to Chicago and announce what you've done without being hanged until death. My inflamed declamation is received with stunned silence, and I realize that I may have just gone a little bit overboard. I am myself surprised. Perhaps I did have just a tiny bit of frustration backed up after months of harassment from that self-important cretin. First to recover is the deputy to my left. He passes a gloved hand through his messy blonde hair and addresses his superior with a helpless tone. She's right, we shouldn't hang her. We should bring her to another town, and if she's really a witch they can burn her just as well. Fool, she will enchant them too. We are committed to this. Just imagine what will happen to you if she escapes now. What kind of justice bears no witness? I interject. Inside, I am in turmoil. Not because of the trap, as losing the argument will not be my end. I just came to an awful realization. I care about Marquette. I really do. I dislike my circumstances and the ensuing isolation from my kind. I hate the smell of burning coal and human excrement. The cacophony of yells, songs and moans that surround my nights make me want to gut them all. And yet, despite all of this, I don't want them to suffer. They are mine. I protected them, and those who have grown to produce something useful or to serve me well fill my heart with pride. They are the results of my effort, my subjects. Is this what ruling is like? How can Master just travel from place to place like some obnoxious vagrant when he could be doing this instead? Nurturing those frail mortals into something that will shine briefly, but brightly. This feels like something worthwhile. Meanwhile, the argument goes on between two sides. On one end, we have Sullivan supported by the increasingly angry lanky man, who is decidedly on edge. On the other side is the blonde man who argues about silly notions like due procedures, the habeas corpus and all manners of nice things that frontier people do not care about. He is supported in turn by Mr. Stocky, whose name I never bothered to remember, but who is apparently a firm supporter of the equal application of laws. His muffled but frequent "that's right" needle Blondie forward and give him the legitimacy he needed to face the judge. A fascinating debate. No matter how interesting their moral qualms are, however, I should not stay to listen. I am on schedule. There is still the matter of the incredibly powerful spell being woven a few miles east to attend to, and I would rather address this issue before it explodes, or turns everything in a 10 miles radius into turnips. I know just the way. Sullivan is still wearing a cross on his tie, the prick, and the warning aura that comes from it forces me to avert my gaze. Incredible how much would be revealed if they tried to exorcise me, or if they looked a bit closer at the spear I hold. Paradoxically, it is civilization that is protecting both parties. If they had just forfeited the trappings of law, we could have just gone medieval on each other from the start. I would have torn them apart, of course, but my cover would have suffered from it, to the extent perhaps that I would have had to disappear. I really need to focus. And Mr. Lanky is presenting me with the perfect opportunity. He is not wearing a cross, and his paranoid mind is already inventing dangers where there are none. I meet his eyes and wrap him instantly. I push the fear to new heights. He is seeing monsters in every shadow now. That's right. You are in mortal danger. Your doom has come. As his terror peaks, I lightly push Meadows, and she takes a step to the side with a light neigh. That is enough for my target. His hand, which had been hovering over the handle of his pistol, plunges and grabs the weapon. He is taking it out before he can think. Gun. I scream helpfully. In an instant, all hell breaks loose. Blondie and Chops raise their carbines, while Lanky's aim wavers between the three of us. Sullivan also raises an engraved musket. I pretend to cower in fear. From below my arm, I capture Lanky's mind and force a fearful reflex. His finger tightens on the trigger. The shot sounds incredibly loud in the empty night. "Stand down!" bellows Sullivan, a bit late. The others hold back at the last moment, though tension is at its paroxysm. "She's a witch. She is, don't you see? Burn her, burn the witch!" screams Lanky hysterically. The others do not react, but the moment has broken what little community they had. Sullivan frowns in frustration and barely contained anger, having sensed it too. I am now faced with a choice. I could start a bloodbath, or I could call this a victory and focus on my original task. In the end, pragmatism wins over. I wish I could finish this once and for all. I am just not willing to pay the price. Humility is a virtue I have but too few occasions to practice. I wish Nami or Sinead were here. We could have done something interesting. Now I am reduced to a gracious retreat. Time to make my exit. I am going to go on my way and let you men solve your problems. I am not stopping for anyone, so if you are going to shoot me, you'd better do it now. Then I'll have to run less to skin your sorry hides. I push a mildly grumpy Metis forward. The smart girl can tell she just missed a meal, though I am not too worried. There will be more soon. The horse carries me forward through the immobile men slowly, then I start a canter as I pass them by, which quickly turns into a gallop. I handled this really well and I have no regrets about not hanging Sullivan with his own innards from that stupid tree before setting it on fire. Nope. No regret. Alright, I have regrets, but I am proud I managed to act like the adult and patient vampire I am. He is completely discredited now, even in the eyes of his own men, and will no longer be an issue. If he dares show his face in Marquette again, I will have him arrested by the militia. I am only surprised that they did not comment on my appearance. My horse and spear should have garnered a few comments at least. I decide to put this behind me and return my attention to the beacon of power pulsating softly before me. I am almost at the safe house and yet still nowhere close to it. The might of this aura, even at this distance, defies understanding. I have difficulties accepting that something so massive could exist in our reality, for it feels more like the kind of spell the Court of Blue could produce. The closer I get in, the more I realize that if this is the work of an individual, then there is little I can do to stop it. I can only hope that they are fully absorbed in whatever this is. I soon reach the safe house and leave a message to the others, then go on. The vast plains soon turn to valleys, and I start to see more variation in the landscape. The path itself zigzags between rocky outcrops and denser patches of wood. Pines replace oaks and moss replaces grass. All in all, it takes me another 2 hours before I find something. Just as I am crossing an empty valley, a gap in the ridge to my side lets me catch a glimpse of fires. I circle around slowly and climb a small elevation to see what it is I am dealing with. In front of me, in a small basin half a mile across, the most peculiar and remarkable of troops has gathered. 100 men and women from all races and ages mill around in an improvised camp. Tents and wagons are spread haphazardly while the ground is covered with cooking fires, covers and personal effects. The place is messy and without order, a reflection of its inhabitants. Besides one morbidly obese man who looks like he escaped from the circus, all the others are painfully thin, dressed in rags and mismatched clothes and wearing haggard expressions. The whole place feels like the most miserable refugee camp that ever was. The only thing missing is bawling children. And yet, in the middle of it, stands a double circle of individuals chanting and raising their hands. The power coming from them is breathtaking, and the essence they weave is so potent that the naked eye can see it. Twirls of strange colors dance in the air, as ephemeral as flames. Sometimes, I think I see alien landscapes and once, even a city entirely made of bone. Curious, I keep looking, searching for priority targets. My surprise is complete when I realize what is missing. This place has no leader. On occasion, one of the lost souls stands up and goes to replace a caster who stumbles away from the circle to a cot or a cooking pit. Small groups gather and break, speaking in soft voices, but there is no focal point, no entity to direct this mass of wretches. I do not understand. My instincts and experience tell me this is an impossibility. A military troop that large could never function, much less this pile of reprobates. There is more to it than I can perceive. I need to get there and inquire. I stand up and carefully make my way down the slope. There are 100 people and I wager they are too eclectic a group to know each other well. I am confident that with a bit of charm, I can infiltrate their ranks. But first, I need to go right. Yes, right. There is something there calling to me, a buzz at the back of my head that I cannot ignore. I am sure that I will find some answers there, and when have my instincts failed me? Quite often really. No, my instincts have never failed me, though following them blindly isn't always wise. That's not what I am doing now. I am being very careful. Yes, I can tell now, those below are untrained mages like Debbie. They are no danger to me, so I can just keep going and everything will be all right. It is completely safe. My steps carry me along the edge of the basin and to a small mound that overlooks it entirely. There seems to be a promontory on top of it, but the walls are sheer. I circle around to the right, leaving the camp and its few lights at my back. The path is deserted. Wait, what am I doing? I am doing what I should do, investigating this strange situation. I keep walking with the cliff to my left. If I can find an easy way up, I will have a commanding view from that promontory I saw earlier. Yes, seems reasonable. I should just claw my way up, find a path, because I am civilized and do not want mud on my pretty dress. After only a minute, I find an inviting way in. A tunnel, dug through the stone. A pair of stylized lion statues guard the entrance on each side, below lit sconces. The light and perfume are strangely soothing. This is what I was looking for. No, wait, this is what I was looking for. Wait. This is definitely wrong. I saw this before. When I was with Bingle and the Blood Cult. Master had been looking for something in a similar. I am being charmed? A massive wave of well-being flows through my mind and wraps me up in a comfortable cocoon. The presence it reveals gives up on stealth for a more direct approach, and the assault is not something I can stop. It is not something I want to stop. This aura is benevolent, it feels like family. And this scent. Warm sun on hot sand, flowers, spices. It is so strange yet so familiar. I step forward, at peace. I will now go and join her, because there is no other choice. I cannot stop myself any more than I can stop the sun from rising. The corridor of stone leads up to a rectangular room of stone with a small pond, decorated by climbing ivy. A square hole in the ceiling lets me see the stars and the Watcher. I lose myself for a second in his comforting embrace, and it lets out a cooing sensation, like someone seeing a puppy. A door leads further in. I pass by a bedroom, a laboratory and a small indoor garden. The place is both luxurious and intimate, like the private quarters of a queen. Then, the passage leads up and I finally step on the promontory. My mind freezes. Unadulterated surprise breaks through the fog of the compulsion I find myself under. What I am seeing is impossible, and at the same time there were many signs that could hint at it. I know I am gawking like a bumpkin and cannot find it in myself to stop. I stand at the edge of a circle once again dug through the stone by means unknown. A pair of chairs and a table with 2 cups and a teapot stand at the edge of the most complex spell circle I have ever seen by several orders of magnitude. The entire surface of the circle is engraved with golden runes so thin and precise, they are practically a work of art. The exquisite working makes Loth's efforts look like childish scribbles. This is magic at a scale that should not exist. This is a world changer. On one of the seats, a woman is resting daintily. Once, I read of how Helen of Troy provoked a war that lasted a decade, and how Cleopatra seduced the first emperor of Rome. I found the story silly. Surely, no being is beautiful enough to change the course of history so. Now, though, I can believe it. She wears a white toga of delicate make, tied to her waist by a golden cord. She has wavy hair as black as the night and as shiny as stars. Her heart-shaped face is sensual and generous, her lips are ruby and her skin is gold. Raphael or Vermeer could spend hours painting the crook of her arm, the shadow of her calf, without doing them justice, and still, they would paint a masterpiece. She is beauty made flesh, and I know her. Once, I drank the most powerful blood in the world, and I remembered an ancient ruler, one who inspired an entire civilization. Master did not see her beauty, or rather, it did not matter to him. She was there, at the beginning. She guided his hand and his ire. She gave him the flood elixir of eternal life so he would not succumb to his wounds. He called her mother. And now she is here, before my eyes. Her heart still beats, and breath still lifts her perfect bust after more than 3 millennia. The words form on my lips, unbidden, to confirm the mirage. Queen Semiramis. She turns and smiles with an otherworldly gaze that even Sinayat could not match. I wish I could capture this moment and remember it forever. Her voice is, as expected, exquisite, a vibrant alto with a delicate lilt that enchants the ear. Greetings, little one. Seeing you here is such a pleasant surprise. Come and sit. Join me. I insist. Chapter 58. As I walk across the circle, I sense power beneath my feet and realize what is happening. The untrained mages outside are not casters, they are fuel. Semiramis is casually channeling a spell that will change the world, sitting on a comfortable chair, while 100 mortals unwittingly do her bidding. I have no idea how she pulled that off, but I know that the skill required to do so should not exist at all. The glyph pulsates with more energy than the herald ever had. I feel like I am standing on the surface of the sun, only separated from my impending doom by a hair-thin barrier and my host's goodwill. When she invites me to sit, I comply. The ancient queen leans forward in a suggestive way that shows a hint of cleavage, and I do believe those who appreciate this kind of thing would have lost their minds by now. The gesture is sensual without being vulgar, and the pose is so easy and graceful it is worth painting. Despite the dire straits I find myself in, I try to commit it to memory. To my surprise, she serves me a cup of infusion from her pot. The liquid has an exotic reddish color and an earthy smell with a hint of spice. Try it. I hesitate, then realize that I should not refuse her hospitality. I have pretended to drink tea on numerous occasions. This is but one more. I wet my lips with the liquid and its fragrance covers my tongue. As expected, earthy and spicy. Its warmth covers my palate and I swallow. It has a minty aftertaste, peculiar and refreshing. Hold on. I just had tea, as a vampire. Impossible. My eyes widen despite my attempts to remain composed, and my host smiles lightly. She drinks as well, then gazes at me with a hawkish focus. I feel like a deer before a pack of wolves. Her tone turns glacial and laden with threat. Before we go any further, does my son know you are here? No. I mean, I do not think so. When was the last time you saw him? In dreams or in person? My answer surprises her, I can tell, yet soon enough the interrogation continues. Interesting. Answer for both conditions. 1803 in person, and 1812 in dreams. Ah. You were one of the discarded spawns. Lucky you. Well, you are not a threat and I know who set us on a collision course. Who? She lifts a beautiful hand, pointing up. I realize before lifting my eyes what she is referring to. I thought it only watched. Mostly yes, but it does pull on the strands of fate on occasion. Answer me one more question. What are you doing here? We are close to my city. I thought that perhaps the spell was a threat meant to destroy me as I was nearing my goal. Is that so? What is this goal you were talking about? I need to remain in control of a city for 20 years to be officially recognized as a city master. This will allow me to use a loophole in the accords to circumvent the execution order against me. Ah, I see. The controlling glare of the judging queen fades away and I am once more but a valued guest in the world's most remarkable tea party. She takes a sip and continues, if you are not here on your master's behalf, then we are not enemies. You find me at a most curious time, little one. What are you called? Ariane. Ariane, MHH. An old name. In any case, I find myself occupied by this dreary task until the end of summer solstice, and I am in a mood to entertain. It has been a long time since I had a conversation for the sake of it. I assume you have questions? Yes. I blurt out, plenty. Her expression turns patient and understanding, like a teacher with an interested student. Asked then. What are we? Semiramis looks stunned for a moment, then laughs merrily. The sound is like chimes in the wind, ethereal and pleasant. Yes, I can see why you could resist me so. Truly, you have a peculiar mind, little one. Very well then, let me tell you a story. It will satisfy your curiosity, I am sure, and there is no better way to pass the time. Ahem. The queen sits straighter and captivates me with her dark eyes. Gradually, the world around me fades until I can feel warm sand beneath my feet, the smell of heated stone and spices, and the din of a humanity that existed at the dawn of time, before reason and enlightenment made man the center of the world. Almost 3 millennia ago, there was a land between 2 rivers where city-states grew like roses in the desert. They flourished into empires, or were sacked and dominated, but in the end, they would all perish to leave the scene to others. I was born in one such kingdom. It was a time where magic was not hidden. It was one more tool in the panoply of majesty that all rulers coveted, as only those favored by the gods could wield such blessings. When I was 12, I manifested this magic, and used it to kill my father. Instead of being put to death, I was married to King Ninos as his 3rd wife. He was 18 and needed the support of gifted individuals to secure his rule and his line. 3 years later, I gave birth to Nirari, my son. He is my only male child to reach adulthood. The others were assassinated. When he reached 15, he led our armies against barbarians from the west and emerged victorious. His arrows were the first to slay a foe, and his chariot, the first into their lines. His skill and ferocity were made legend then, and when the Hittites slew my husband, I became queen with his support. By then, I had eliminated the other consorts and their progeny while warding off dozens of attempts on our lives. We had poured molten gold in the mouths of mercenaries bought to kill us and lathered the genitals and anus of assassins with honey before burying them in red ants' nests. I had sent terrible curses on our enemies so that their fingers would rot and maggots would crawl out of their head as they were still conscious. Oh. Wow. And I thought brother Achilles and I had big fights. In the next few years, Babylon became unmatched. Tribes and cities would send us tithes and offerings of slaves and gold. They would send their princesses to give my sons descendants of their blood, but it was not enough. I was the greatest mage who ever lived, and still, I knew that I had access but to a fragment of what could be done. I found reflections of alien planes and strange people, civilizations before which we were but children squabbling in the dirt. I needed more time than a human body could provide, much more time. And so, I searched far and wide for something that could pierce the veil of our reality, a reality that resisted magic more than most. It needed to be powerful enough to grant me what I desired, and honorable or patient enough not to destroy us. And in the most remarkable of places, I found it. What? What did you find? Once more she lifts a finger. I am too stunned to accept this answer. Impossible. Very much possible. The Watcher was all of it and more. You may think of it as both an almighty being and a toddler. The most accurate description I can give of it is that of the sliver of a creator god. One day it will die and give birth to a new universe. No, that's. You can't know all of that. It's impossible. Genuine dread constricts my chest and freezes my mind. She can understand what is unthinkable? That would make her mind that of a god, and I refuse. I absolutely refuse to accept this. No human mind should comprehend this. It isn't right. Surely. Trust me, I had a very, very long time to study my partner. Communication was arduous at first, but I did not give up. When I told you that I was the greatest mage who ever lived, it was not hubris. I really was. And I still am. I force myself to calm down a bit, surprised by my lack of control. I consider the might of the spell under us and the 100 people outside, laboring to an end they probably do not even understand. She can manipulate all of them, mesmerize me, and cast this incredible working all at once, while sitting at a table having tea. Yes, I can believe her, and it terrifies me. After a pause, she resumes her outlandish tale. I struck a bargain with it. I needed immortality, it needed knowledge. It was, I think, curious, and a little bored. In return for my prize, he asked to be let in. I could not achieve this. He cannot come to this planet, no more than a grown man can get into a thimble. So instead I offered him an aperture through which he could see and even interact by the tiniest of margins. Vessels to carry his essence. Are you telling me that we are tools so that the Watcher can spy on this world? Not spying. Spying implies a malevolent intent. It learns and, perhaps, entertains itself. I received the power to alter my essence into that of an immortal, and in return, I created the elixirs filled with its essence to share and spread to humans who would interest it throughout the ages. The unleashed alien potential turned them into progenitors, the first ones, whose bloodline powers reflected their very nature. All vampires carry this foreign mark. That is why your existence is denied by the Sun Purifier, why you cannot create life and need to steal it from others, why calls to a creator god deny your existence and repulse you, and why the soul of the person you were needs to depart before you can rise again. The Watcher cannot create here, only alter, and your nature is reflected by this. Wait, hold on, wait. I still have my soul. I am still me. It's just changed. No? Semiramis shows something that I cannot accept, pity. You believe you are the same? Oh, poor thing. Her memories and spirit are yours now, but her soul is gone to wherever souls go, replaced by vampiric essence. What? No, you are wrong. I am me. I am still me. Ariane Beatrice Lucille Raynaud. This is a lie, a travesty. Papa, I cannot accept this. You are still you, yes, but the mortal girl is dead. I am so sorry. I don't have a soul. I don't have a soul, at all. I am not her? Then, when I woke up in that cell under the fortress, those were my first moments? Then, the human Ariane died under Master's tender care, and her last 3 days were spent lying broken and bloody, tortured, defiled, just for having addressed a man at a party? I look at the Queen, expecting a hint of disdain or amused cruelty, but there is none. When she sees my doubt, she adds with a soft voice, I am telling the truth, on my honor I do so swear. This is bullshit. I thought I was continuing being me, a daughter, a sister and a friend. I thought I was honoring myself by enduring despite what life had thrown at me. And now it turns out that it was all for nothing. I was masquerading a dead woman after stealing her violated body? This was all for nothing. It was all a lie. Is this what this world really is about? Cruelty and malice without end. Endless destruction without meaning. Suddenly, all I have witnessed surges back in me, unhindered by my usually cold nature. I remember those children who had died in their own dejection as cholera ravaged their frail insides. Those people murdered and scalped for being at the wrong place, or those others summarily executed for being the wrong color. When I arrived in Marquette, there were whores stabbed in the chest and left to drown in their own blood, and men with gut wounds who died slowly, their blood poisoned by their own shit, for nothing more than a fistful of coin. Was there a reason for that? The girls barely entering puberty who would show up at the dream pregnant by some relatives. Those poor assholes with missing body parts left to die by the side of the mine, did they serve a purpose? All of those, I ignored because they were mortals, and suffering and dying is what mortals do. Now, it's coming back, all at once. All the pointless misery and senseless suffering. All the horror that can be blamed on nothing but fate. Was there a point to Ariane's existence, to be snuffed like this, so cruelly? And she was not the only one. What about Penelope, who retired 7 years ago, only for her to lose her husband and children in a flood and hang herself afterwards? The Stevensons, whose only child died of a strange and painful disease. Is there a point? At all? There is no God. If there is one, it is merciless beyond measure. I hate it. I hate everything. I hate being cheated by fate. I hate having no immortal soul. I hate the lies I told Papa and myself. Do I even have a right to call him father? I'm just some parasite who stole the lifeless husk that was left of his daughter after Master had his fun. Fuck. Ariane, look at my hand, I will make it all go away. Don't you fucking dare. Annoying bitch. Did I ask you something? Little one, it is not weakness to seek help in difficult times. Would you erase your own thoughts because they are not convenient? I have. I lift my head in surprise at this admission. Her face is candid and open, and though I suspect it to be artifice, I am still appreciative of the effort. When she sees that I am paying attention, she continues. Some knowledge would destroy the mind. But enough about me, am I correct in assuming that you have a bit of an identity crisis? And faith crisis, yes. If you would refuse my magic, would you still take my advice? No, thank you. A flash of anger, gone in an instant. You're angry? Really? Who gives a shit? Not me and not the original Ariane, because she's dead. What a fucking joke. My dad? No, Ariane's dad, I lied to him. I truly am a monster wearing the face of his child. Just a thief born from an alien god's perverse curiosity. So, watcher, you enjoy watching your pet creature fuck, drink, and kill, huh? You sick bastard. God fucking damn it. Alright, enough, I need to calm down. Now is not the time to panic. I pinch the bridge of my nose and resist the urge to glance at the vampire star. Normally, it would fill my heart with calm, like coming home. Now, I just want the transcendental arsehole to get to comet up its cosmic arse or something. Since I am still facing the second most dangerous entity I have ever come across, I close my eyes and do the next best thing. In an instant, my mental fortress appears before me and I leave the bedroom at its heart to walk through its inner halls. Tortuous hallways and illusory rooms fade in the background as I walk to the entrance. I will never get lost here, this home is mine. I know the emplacement of each memento, each statue and each tree. When I reach the grand entrance, the double doors bang open as a reflection of my mood and the garden greets me in all its glory. The purple tendrils look more subdued today, almost quiescent. I cannot resist. I look up to the dark aster that I always considered an ally. It looks down and once more to the familiar split pupil and red sclera. Its unconditional acceptance fills my heart with peace. And grief. I died. She died. And now I'm here. I will deal with this. I just need a moment. I prepare to bask in the otherworldly light but something tugs at me. Several tendrils are insistently pointing in a direction. I follow and my gaze lands on a distant wall. There is something happening there. I draw nearer and look at the border of my mind. As usual, a forest of thorny roots and branches without end blocks anyone coming in, or at least it should. There is something there that doesn't belong, moving quietly through the otherwise impregnable wall. I focus and see the strange thing. This place is me, and that thing is not. I become more aware of that part of my mind. I survey it and gauge it. I can feel the wrongness, but I cannot identify it properly. I sharpen my will to a point and inspect the wall strand by strand. This is me, this is me, this is me. The anomaly moves back, trying to escape. This is not me. Those are not mine. Somebody is trying to. I open my eyes to see Samarama's hand move back by a fraction of an inch. Our eyes meet. A single droplet of sweat pearls on her august temple. Weakness. That thrice accursed donkey-shagged vixen tried something, probably some sort of mental-based charm. The way she made me think this was part of me is the same trick I used to charm someone through a magical protection. Kill. For one long second, tension reaches a paroxysm. She is weakened. I know it for sure. She has been casting for a full day probably without stopping, without sleeping, a spell of incredible might. She tried to pierce my mental defenses earlier through brute assault and then used a more indirect approach because dominating me was too costly. She is at the end of her rope. I think. I could take her. Or, she could forfeit the spell and turn that power against me to annihilate my form in a split second. Can I kill her before she can cast? I am far from certain of it. More importantly, She has kept Master at bay and that fits me just fine. I know if I meet him again, he will be able to order me around, but I feel more and more like myself, and right now, him being busy at the other side of the globe is perfectly agreeable. I don't need him. I don't need anyone. But I do need her alive. Yes, that is right. I can't deal with my pain right now. I need to get out of here alive, because her death would not be to my advantage even if I were to somehow succeed. I check my mind for foreign influence and find nothing. It appears that it truly is my own conclusion. What now? Survival comes first, then I will find a way to come to terms with, well, everything. How do I do that? A trade? Let us test the water. By the way, I would like to thank you for your hospitality, Queen Semiramis. You honor me. She smiles graciously and with perfect ease, assumes another enchanting pose. I know for sure those are all lies and masks, but I cannot help but envy her appearance. I used to be one of the prettier ladies around, or at least human Ariane used to be, but I now realize that I am an ugly duckling compared to her. King Ninos did not stand a chance, and neither would Jimena. She resumes the conversation as if attempting to bend me to her will was just a passing fancy. It is my pleasure. It has been so long since I had a, shall we say, proper guest. I am afraid that my pursuit is a lonely one, and this is truly a pleasant distraction. Spell completion will occur on the summer solstice, tomorrow, at midnight. You should stay to see it. Oh, she wants to play. Good. We are like two wildcats arguing over the remains of a mouse. Neither of us is willing to get hurt for it. We cannot afford to. She cannot risk letting me go until she is done, this is clear enough. I am fine with that, though I need to guarantee my safety while I am here. There's also the matter of 3 nights being my limit for going without blood. I would be delighted to, but I would not like to impose for so long. I am pretty sure that eternal life means she is a magical being. I can reasonably trust hospitality if she offers it. Of course, you are welcome to spend the night here. And the day? Once more, I catch a small expression of annoyance. Did she really plan on letting me roast under the sunlight? Unbelievable. Yes, yes, she adds as she waves a hand dismissively, you will be protected until the spell is done, then you can be on your way. You have my word. That went better than I expected. I just need to confirm one more thing. Thank you so much. Why, I know that you value your privacy, and I am privileged to be in your company tonight. Indeed. I do not need to tell you that this is to remain our little secret. I hope you understand. It is as if you read my mind. Of course, I swear never to mention this meeting to anyone but you. The oath takes me like someone grabbing my heart from the inside. With this, our deal is complete. She will have to protect me and stay out of my head till the spell is complete, then we both go on our way and I will not speak of this. Semiramis delicately refills our cups. The strange infusion is still piping hot and as tasty as ever. I decide to ask more of her, since we are stuck here anyway. You asked about Master. Do I understand that you do not wish your presence to be known by him? Indeed not. We are at odds, him and I. While I wish to attain divinity through magical means, he has a much more direct route offered to him. You? She nods, the gesture strangely attractive. You are correct. My essence changed to that of an immortal being, and his blood is that of the conquerors. Should he devour me, I believe he would be truly eternal. I, of course, object. He would do this to his own mother. Her chuckle this time is slightly bitter. Nirari no longer cares about this attachment, not after 2,000 years, and especially not after what we have done to each other. You see, once he showed interest in tracking me, I had to destroy the means by which he could do so. I destroyed his kingdom. What? I could not leave him the tools to chase me effectively. This isn't what I meant at all. She can destroy a kingdom. By the Watcher. Why did you not just stop him? Surely, someone with your magical skills could have done it? The queen raises brows in surprise, and for one moment she looks incredibly haughty. I almost expect her to order hidden royal guards to throw me to the crocodiles. Just like everything else, she is incredible while doing so. I am a bit jealous. Still, she replies. You do not mince your words. Very well, I will tell you what you seek. I did not kill him, because he was what was left of my son. I could not harm him in any way. I even helped him at first, as much as I could. I taught him all I knew at the time of magic, which he had previously neglected in favor of statecraft. It no longer matters now. He can no longer be opposed. What do you mean? Is it because he devoured too many powerful foes? He would be mighty but not invincible. No, the crux of the matter is that there are two things that make him untouchable. The first is my mistake. In the year 1142 of your calendar, Nirari tracked down the dragon on the desertic shore of Erythrea. There, he faced it in battle, defeated it, and consumed it. What? I should have seen it coming, in retrospect, but I underestimated him. Our world only ever had the one, though it was apparently weakened by our plain scarce magic. Dragons are different from any other planar beings. They are magic made flesh. By draining one, he obtained enough magical strength to overcome mine with sheer brute force. I could no longer face him directly. Wow. Dragons? Magical duels. I was just trying to survive until I get proof that I was a city master, and now I am thrown in some sort of fairy tale. With no consideration for my distress, the queen continues. And the second is his right arm. Ariane, unless he has gone to ground to create a new offspring, there are now 3 of his spawn that still walk the earth. Surely, I misheard. 3? Yes. Svyatoslav in Russia, you, and a last one. The only spawn he kept and raised himself. I did not see him at the fortress. You would not, he is seldom involved in diplomacy. Child, let me tell you of Malakim. She leans forward once more, showing just enough golden skin to be distracting even to me. Her voice shifts into that of a storyteller. Where before I could feel sand and sun, now there is only darkness, blood and the clangs of battle, and her tone is as ominous as her words. Malakim is hatred incarnate. It is said in those circles that know of him, that he was born from a corpse, that he was reared by a Scythian witch who laced her milk with man's blood and the poison of snakes. It is said that he killed his first victim when he was 7. It is said that in his first battle, he slaughtered both sides until only he was left standing. It could all be true. Nirari found him in the middle of bloodshed, as was his wont, slaughtering Turks for the Holy League. He was impressed, captured Malakim and turned him quickly. She stops her tale to take a sip of tea. Her next glance to me is wary, and she speaks more intimately, as if she were afraid we could be overheard. You have known your master's touch. All of the spawns who were successfully interrogated speak of the same treatment. Oh, I see doubt in your eye. Yes, even the men. He debases and breaks them too. He breaks everyone. Except for Malakim. His anger protected his mind, just as it torments him endlessly, so that even in the face of death he would not relent. Your master threatened a clan with that story, and when his demands were rejected, he unleashed his new servant's blood-crazed form on a small island of the Aegean, exterminating its entire population. When the usual night squad came to slay the errant spawn, Malakim managed to escape on their boat, killing one. I need you to understand that it is, and remains, a unique achievement. It had never happened before in history, and did not occur again ever since. The incident was even kept under wraps to avoid a loss of face and faith in the Night Order. Having witnessed his tool's extraordinary abilities, Nirari took him under his wing and taught him more, then by means unknown, obtained his loyalty. He encased his spawn's heart and collar in armor made of an otherworldly metal that could keep shape in the heart of a volcano, and uses him sometimes as messenger, sometimes as a taskmaster, but more often than not, as an executor. Malakim has been his mouth, his shadow and his fist. And wherever he goes, he leaves few survivors. Perhaps you do not yet understand why he is such an obstacle. With regard to that man, it is not martial prowess or intellect that define him, although he has those aplenty. What defines Malakim is his sheer, stubborn hatred. He was flayed alive, dismembered and castrated. He was whipped until he was but a slab of raw meat. He was pierced by serrated arrows. He was boiled and burned. Still, he would come after his foes, ever more ferocious. He cannot be cowed, dominated, or reasoned with. His rage flows pure and unending, and no amount of wounds or torture can stop him whenever he is set on a path of destruction. He never relents, he never gives up, until he has received his due. Mental magic has no hold on him, for to peer into his mind is to call madness itself. He smashes through wards and endures their punishments with careless abandon. He went a week without drinking as a courtier to hunt down a foe. The monster's focus is impossibly sharp, and its fuel is loathing for all of creation, including himself. No one has ever managed to inflict a lethal wound on him, and many have tried. He always gets back up and he never forfeits. That is what anyone would have to face to stop the progenitor of the Devourers, and so far, none have found a way to overcome those odds. Have you seen your master fight? Only once. Know that he is at his most dangerous when truly challenged, for then he will use his full power. You will know it when he takes out his sole weapon, a glaive he named Heartseeker. I wish I could make fun of this tacky name, but the memory of Master's hand through a lord's chest is still vivid in my memory. I am also surprised, as I do not remember ever watching him wielding a blade. I only saw him use his hands and some spells. Then you have not seen him fight, you have merely seen him play. By the Watcher, truly this world is vast. My own struggles and achievements seem so petty by comparison, that I feel like a child boasting the sale of a bucket of apples to a British spice trader. I look briefly to the eye in the sky. Why did you want me to see this? My perspective changes once more, with straight lines being strangely curved and distance becoming meaningless. The Watcher's pupil is now intimately close. It whispers, with a roar that deafens me, a very specific feeling. When I was a kid, I played by myself a lot due to there being no one close in age. It was not too hard, as I had an entire court of bears and puppets lovingly provided by my father. One day, I was playing with a tea set I had made from broken clay pots and realized I needed some actual water to drink. I picked up a jar, hoping to fill it with water. I walked back from the garden into our house, through the main hall and to the back. I noticed that the door to the fume wire was opened and peered in. Papa was playing cards with 3 men from town. On the table between them, there was a small pile of money. I count several whole dollars. It was more than I had received in allowances and gifts in my life up to that point. I stared at the pot in my hands and realized what adult games were, and for the first time in my life, felt inadequate. This is what the Watcher is showing me. This world is a vast and dangerous place, an eternal playground where powers fight for the resources, lives and souls of its inhabitants, and the more one knows and the deeper they go, and the deadlier the game gets. This is the abyss. The ultimate game. Master and his mother are locked in a millennia-long race for godhood, and whoever wins, we may all lose. If Master succeeds, he will devour her, and then, with her no longer stopping his rise to power, he may just take over the world. Who would stop him? Who would even know there was someone to stop? Even the Order of Gabriel, so effective against our kind, may not have a way to slay him for good. Even if they managed it, the devastation could be unheard of. If she wins, who knows what she may do with her magic? Would she change the fabric of reality until we match Sinead's land in fluidity, then announce herself as its sovereign? This is what truly is at stake, and what I have been shown. I do not know why. Compared to those old monsters, I am but a flea. Those 2 decades spent consolidating power and training are but a drop in the ocean that separates us. Why are you showing me this, Watcher? Will you also show the games of kings to a beggar? Do you not know that the nail that stands out gets hammered down? I can't get involved in this. Even if the world should burn because of everyone's indifference, I will not be the one to save it anyway. I am too weak. Semiramis does not mind the silence, so I raise my eyes and glance once more into the curious one. Is this what you want? To give me perspective? It does not answer. I only get the general sense of contentment he shares since I gave him the key. I need to remember that the Watcher is barely sapient by our standards. There might be no reason at all. There might be a reason, but he might not understand the circumstances. A toddler could gather all its pet ants in a single spot without realizing that they are in the middle of a fight to the death. I need to get out of here in one piece and at the very least be legally alive. World-ending threats will have to wait. Sorry. You are thoughtful, and this is a surprise for me. I knew that Svyatoslev was sane, of course. He could not have achieved so much, nor garnered the respect of those stuck-up Vityazi vampires if he were not. I had, however, assumed he was an exception. Say, you have seen my son recently. Yes? It appears that Semiramis is ambivalent. On one hand, she assures me that human Ariane is dead, on the other hand she calls Nirari her son. I find myself sharing her feelings in this matter. I still cannot accept that I am not her, at least not fully. I don't want to think about this right now. I decide to continue talking with her. Yes, I have. Could you tell me about it? I haven't seen him in person for so long. For one moment, I feel anger bubbling inside me. What does she want me to say? That he does not bind his victims so that they always feel like they can struggle and escape. Before I can say anything else, the cold nature of my mind reasserts itself as fury is replaced by calculations. It is a testament to my distress that the idea of having no soul can torment me for so long. I can, and while I do so, would you allow me to do something? What is it? She answers guardedly. I would like to draw you. This time, her surprise shows. Is it because of exhaustion or because she feels safe now that our bargain is struck? I do not know, but her expressions feel more natural. With an amused smirk, she points at a corner of the room where a small stand holds supplies. I do not remark that there was nothing there a moment ago. I just stand up, pick the provided tools and start working on different views and expressions of her. While I do so, I relate what I saw of him in the vampire fortress, then in dreams. She does not comment, only asks questions, then starts mentioning anecdotes of her life as a teenager an eternity ago. Semiramis is a smooth teller and her stories are extraordinary. Her tales speak of vengeance and plans within plans. After a while, they all blur together as I draw her smiling, defiant, menacing or nonchalant. I expand to drawing her full body, then details until the task absorbs me completely. In this simple occupation, I finally find the peace that I had previously failed to achieve. Soon, dawn approaches and the queen walks me to guest quarters that I am quite sure were not there when I arrived. As she turns around to return to her spell, I come to a great realization that soothes my heart. Semiramis may be more skilled, wise, and powerful than me. Her beauty might be legend and her grace unmatched, but no matter what, and for all of eternity, I will always have the better ass. Tobe continued. Thanks for listening.